lunch with Grandma Scherff.
Hmm.
And also they used one F or two Fs on their name. There's entire document series in one F, and there's a whole other entire document series with the two Fs. I mean, you and I can't do this anywhere to do, but this is how these people are, and that's how they've operated. But it was Borman and the young George H.W. Scherff Jr. His dad was the industrialist during World War I and sold all of Tesla's information to Germany. He was the assistant to Tesla. And while he was gone, they went in and took Tesla out. So that is the picture. And the thing that's really crazy, you and I weren't around at that time, but we know all these names because they're the famous names. Bormann is a famous name of one of the Nazis. Gellin was a famous name. Joseph Mengele, what he did to children, is a famous name. And then there's the guy that called himself Prescott Bush, but he was actually George H.W. Scherff Sr. And then that's his wife. And then that is Bush 41, as they're calling him George Scherff Jr. there, but it's George H.W. I don't know if the H.W. was part of it, but all the genealogy, anybody that goes in the reference section of the book and pulls up the PDF on the Otto Skorzeny articles out of the Idaho Observer, when you pull that up, you're going to see how connected all these people are and their families. So when Bush President 41, who's sitting in the middle and has an arrow pointing at him, when he was in Germany, he was already in the Navy in Germany. These are the guys in their Navy uniforms. This was in, I believe, 38 when these photos were taken. And they said he was in the German Navy at the age of 16 before he came to America.
Oh, wow.
And Bormann, and it was supposedly him and Bormann, according to Skorzeny, that went in and took Tesla out, while the dad, George H.W. Scherff Sr., who went by Prescott Bush in our Senate for several years, he ended up going out of the country. And then when he came back, they just said he was found dead in his hotel room. Nobody checked anything out. He was practically starved to death. All the pictures of Tesla in his later years, he was so gaunt. He was just
Oh, yeah.
he's penniless, and they made all the money on it, and he did all the work. But that's why they used Thomas Edison to come against Tesla. I mean, all of this, every one of these situations has been a setup, every single one of them. And for Bormann to be of that same age and in that group, and they felt they had a right to do it. They have a right to do whatever it is that they want to do for their own benefit. And so that's how they've lived. So now you fast forward to the JFK assassination, because when I saw that and people are trying to figure it out and wait for everything to declass, it's already been made available to us.
Yeah.
It was George H.W. Scherff Jr., Bush 41, president. It was that guy that was the head of the group. On YouTube, if you go out on YouTube, and I'm sure they're probably still out there, the confessions of the three guys who were on his team that day. And when he finally admitted to people, yeah, I was in Texas, but I think that day I was in Houston, like he couldn't remember. But the very next day, Hoover, who his dad was German, his mom was Switzerland, no towns, none of these people have any background we can ever check on. They don't have any history that we can check on. They came in, and it just like they came in as though they were born at 40, 50 years old. They just came in and took over. And so there is nothing to find before that. And that's why this is such a gem of Otto Skorzeny, that the guy that's the investigative reporter knew the guy that his daughter was trying to be engaged to. And that guy, because he was going to be engaged to the daughter, Skorzeny didn't want him marrying the daughter and not knowing the history. So he gave up all this history. He pulled out the shoebox of photos. And the third or fourth article, the end of the multiple pages of the PDF, you're going to find all of the genealogy history of how all these guys, how Pierce and Walker and all these names of Barbara Bush, how all these names are all connected, and how they were the key people right around Hitler that were doing what happened in Germany. And there are people who say they were even the handlers of Hitler, because Hitler didn't really want to do that. But they were all very charming when they were young. Hitler was a charming guy. He took over, and was it Hindenburg, like the inflatable? Was
Right.
it him that
Dirigible.
was
Yeah.
the president? And then here's Hitler as his right-hand guy. And so then Hitler, they get rid of Hindenburg and Hitler comes in and runs it. In Russia, Lenin gets taken out by his right-hand guy, Stalin, and Stalin is this young, charismatic, good-looking, wavy hair guy. All these pictures of them younger are in the book. And then God had me insert a picture of Prescott Bush when he was at Senate age and put in one of George H.W. Jr. at Senate age. And they look identical. They look identical. The dad probably doesn't have quite as long of a face, but the features and everything are the same. And so you can tell that they're related to each other. It's absolutely unbelievable. And then I don't think we had time to get into the fact that what they signed with President Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy, the AG, those two men met with Prescott Bush. They made him sign a letter, a document saying, I will never have anybody in my family, nobody in my family, now that you guys know who we are, nobody in the family will ever be in your government again. And he signed it in September 1963. And it was November 63 when Bush 41 president ended up being over the team for the CIA to take out Kennedy. What's on YouTube, the confessions are the three guys that were on his team under him. And the only man that got debriefed the next day, not Johnson, not anybody else. The only man that was debriefed the day after Kennedy was assassinated was George H.W. Scherff Jr., who went by Bush Sr. in America.
Wow. So you've disclosed all this.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening with it?
Well, you can't do, because see, they were all under the corporation. So that's how they protect themselves. So they're corporate officers.
Okay.
He's the president of a corporation. So, and they've never gone by our Constitution. That's what people don't understand. The majority of our states still don't have a ratified Constitution. That was done on purpose because number 13 of the 45 points is avoid all loyalty oaths. So there was no reason for them to do what they were supposed to do for America because they set it up that we weren't going to everything that Charles Bonaparte set up. All of this is in the FBI chapter. He set up every village, town, city, county, state with a corporate structure above that you're not even aware of. But people didn't even question, how come a village has a trustee board? Trustee board for what? That's what's required of the corporation to handle the finances. And it says right in the structure of the National Municipality League, that's now the National Civic League, it says right in the structure, locally, you're only going to vote on 4 people. You may think you're voting on all these other people, and it really doesn't matter. All of these elections have been rigged because they have a system, a merit-based system to select and position the people they want in those positions. So that's why Kennedy warned us. Everything secret is repugnant because in these secret societies, they were already organized over in Europe. So what they did was they brought all of this to us. That's why Monroe was saying you're bringing it all in 1820. The inauguration was 1789. We had no idea how. We've never had control of this country. We've never had a basis. That's in my 43rd point. I don't know how deep we got into that. We've been just skating across and giving the key points. Mm-hmm. But in that chapter, you really get, we've never had our own country. We've never been independent. We've never had freedom. It was all a covering over us from the very beginning of this country. We've never really had control of who's running the show. We've never had control of the election process to control who's in there. We've never, they immediately took control of how all the structures were in the communities. They took control of who could work. They took control. You can't be a pastor, a business owner. You can't be anything in this community if you're not part of these secret societies. And people are really scared about the Masonic, and the Masonic's at the bottom. The Masonic is where they get you tied in. If you get invited to a meeting, you have to take the first 3 oaths and become a lifetime member the night you are there. Oh, there's the 2 Bushes.
Yep.
In the book, they're on separate pages. I didn't realize the pictures are that much difference in size. I'm so sorry. But if you can, I don't know if you can enlarge it very much, but Prescott Bush, or enlarge the page so they can see him a little bit larger. Prescott Bush did not adopt George H.W. Bush. He's George H.W. Scherff, one F or two Fs, Jr., and the dad, who had an SS name in Germany of Prescott Bush, is George H.W. Scherff Sr. So when we saw him sitting in the front with his wife, that's the mother and father of Bush 41. But again, they're only Bush in America. They're not Bush anywhere else in the world. You can't find any deals where they've had any deals anywhere globally as Bush, except since that was his SS name, I found the ranch in South America, because they all got ranches in South America and flew and became business consultants globally. So they kind of hid behind the fact that, and then they would go in and find out what the businesses need. Next thing you know, they have unions, and you know how that goes. And so it's all the same business structure out of Europe as what our guys wanted to get away from in the 1600s, the Pilgrims. They watched the grooming in the churches, the grooming in the schools. They watched what was happening with the children. The fathers are being boiled in oil. The women and children were for the desires of the men. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And Hoover's the same. Hoover's the absolute same. Hoover was nobody. He was positioned in there. He had to follow what everybody wanted. And the only people they're keeping records on are legal Americans who came here and are fighting to have a decent life in America. They're not doing anything about the illegals, and FBI and Secret Service were placed in the laws to handle identity theft. The illegal infiltration that's now become an invasion was an invasion by 2000. By 2000, there were so many million coming in a year, and all that's in my Nation Restoration book. And Hoover knew about all of this. Hoover was in charge of all of this. But none of us knew what Hoover was doing on November 23rd, because he never shares with anybody what those guys are doing. He only scandalizes the people that are legal Americans of any small thing that they do, anything they do out of line. And some of them probably got in a society, did something society didn't like. And as soon as you do that, you're scandalized, you're demeaned, you're out. You can't get a job. You can't. I mean, the whole structure is identical to what they've set up in our churches. Absolutely every structure, whether it's corporation, whether it's entertainment, whether it's churches, whether it's no matter what it is, because none of it is real. It's not real fellowship what you're doing in the churches. It's what Constantine set up. It's all the other kingdom. All of their holidays and celebrations and feasts and festivals are all paganism. Even how you get married, something white, something blue, something borrowed, something new. I mean, it's just the whole thing is a joke with them about us, because we follow all their stuff and we don't have a clue what we're doing or what we're agreeing to or what we're accepting. So I think it's really great that we could get together and talk about this whole thing on JFK, because Hoover kept being awarded, and he was only 26 years old, and he became, because he agreed to do everything that they wanted him to do, he becomes the director of the FBI, brings in his associate director, or I don't know what the exact title was, but the day he died, that guy tried to become the FBI director, and they put somebody else in before sundown. But Clyde Tolson became his associate, and the two of them ran the FBI and also were a couple in real life. So they were male partners. Mm-hmm. Hoover was a female side of that, and everybody said he dressed in drag. And they caught him in that. When he died, that's what they found. He was at work on Monday, died during the night, and wasn't at work on Tuesday. I mean, so he ran it for 48 years after being second in command for 3 years. So 51 years. He ran everything about the FBI from Bureau of Intelligence into FBI. So when he was the associate,
so he got put in that position because he would lie about JFK, huh?
Yeah, he's lied about everything. They all lie.
About
Everybody
everything
thinks
is true.
like the guy in New York now, oh, Sheila, he was lying to the president. Who cares? They all lie. They
Mm.
all lie because you're not to know what it is that they're doing. And he kept files on everybody. And he decided whether or not he released it. And that was his main job. It's supposed to be the investigation to help us. There's something happening, and they're supposed to only be inside the borders, remember?
Yeah.
So now why was their office in London doing all this work against the president? Why do they have a London FBI office? Interesting, isn't it?
I did not
Because
know that. Wow, that's crazy.
it's just coming
And
out
why would
now.
they have CIA offices, which is supposed to be, counterintelligence all over the world, but not here? And the FBI is supposed to do that, but yet the CIA has offices in every single state.
They have them in all the nations too. I
Yeah.
just heard something very interesting today, and I didn't forward it because it's on Facebook, and I can't keep bothering my friends to pull it off of Facebook so I can put it out on Twitter and Truth and Telegram. But it's Robert David Steele. Did you ever hear his summary where he said, "You guys are ridiculous if you think there's one CIA, there's seven." And then he started listing them and showing the differences of them. There's one that's just doing the torture and the scandalizing everything. It gets handed to that division, that CIA. Do you know what I mean? And so
Mm.
all of these CIA factions, I don't even know if they know about each other.
Wow.
And he said there's
That,
one
that
that's
makes
just
sense
the
because I was just
Zionist one.
talking to a gentleman about the CPS scandal and in Idaho, and he was a Baby Cyrus story, and he was telling me about how the Bundys basically were put in isolation and tortured by the FBI. So
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. I was like, I've worked with a lot of FBI. I just can't, but they're different, or they're that makes sense. There are seven different organizations at FBI. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I don't know if I've shared independently the targeted individual chart, but when I was invited by the San Diego federal grand jury, because the FBI left me out. We got the three judges and the top trial attorney to prison, but there were 12 judges and seven law firms involved in all the scams.
Wow.
They were operating behind the scenes and deciding cases before the cases came to trial, and the attorneys were planning the amount of money they would get if they would go along with the deal in
Mm.
advance of even
Yeah.
coming to trial. It was all done before you ever walked in the door.
Yeah.
And so that's what the hostile takeover of me, that's how I found all this out.
Hmm.
And so they invited me to come in and submit for myself. And civilians don't submit. It's the FBI that does all the major investigation, and they submit it to the grand jury. And then when the grand jury decides we're going to indict this person, the indictment comes forward. That's where all these sealed indictments are that have already been processed. And at that point, it goes over to the U.S. attorney, and then the U.S. attorney fights that case in court. And so it didn't happen, and it didn't help me. And so I was in major issues by 2016 because all this started in the 91. And so all these social security number changes have been every few months all the way up to last year. And I'm tired, you know what I mean? And so they invited me to submit. And so I submitted a summary in 2016, but I didn't have the FBI FOIA back. And they're supposed to respond within 6 to 12 months. They didn't respond till 14 months later. I mean, and they wouldn't answer any calls. They won't help in any way. I mean, it's just been crazy. And
Stonewalling.
so then it ended up being 2017 when I filled out the whole thing. And that thing is huge because just my ID documents are, by the time you do the social security number, driver's license, I mean, all that stuff that they do and who did it and all that, each of those pages, it was 25 pages of ID and key documents. And so that's added on. And then FOIA, they didn't give me anything that I submitted to the Senate Banking and Finance Committee. And I sent them, they wanted the same facts every single day. After I heard every hearing, I gave them a summary of why this is happening, how the people are doing it, so that we could have progress. And so they didn't submit any of that, but it was 67 pages of fluff. Only one page had the two guys' names on it, and it was the top of every page that I submitted by fax every day during those Senate hearings. And so it was kind of a joke, but it was 67 pages. So I submitted that whole thing. And when I submitted it, I said, God, I don't even know what to title it because I don't know what the criminal aspect is of it. And he said, you were a targeted individual. So at the time, this is back in 2016 into 2017 when I filed it, targeted individual just meant that they will target you to the point that they've destroyed you to the point that you have no means for financial support for your future.
Yeah.
And that's what they did to me. And so
Yeah.
that's all I knew. So I submitted that. I explained how they did it. I explained. So I backed up. I was able to prove absolutely what a targeted individual is. And yes, it's me. So I did that. Then in 24, I get the copy of that darn targeted individual chart. And they're all in on it. I mean, the Nazi symbols are on there, the CIA is on there, and they're all working with each other behind the scenes back and forth.
Wow.
And I never found that the FBI, in fact, people are so mad at Cash now. And I said, would you please give him a break? How would you like to walk into that kind of a structure?
Yeah.
And you don't even know if you can trust two people. Because that's where we're
Bondi
at.
the same way. People keep slamming her, but I feel that she's doing the best that she can. And they're working,
Well,
they're
and it's not
progressing, but
Bondi.
it's going to take, it's taking time. All has to be, everything's got to be coordinated when I think they do their ultimate big hit.
Mm-hmm. Well, because when they do these cases, because they're so mad. What happened with Comey? I was at Mar-a-Lago. I didn't hear. Did they release him? He didn't get arrested. His indictment.
The corrupt judicial system basically let him go.
Okay. Do you know what's going to be fun? That's
I'm
why they
hearing
didn't
that
arrest
Bondi has
Sussman.
really got something up her sleeve, but we'll see.
Oh, they all do, because they didn't arrest Sussman. They didn't on civil crimes. You don't do it in civil court. Remember when Lindsey Graham questioned Kavanaugh and he
Mhm.
said, "Sir, do you understand military law?" And he said, "Yes, sir, I do." Well, can you describe the difference between a civil case in military jurisdiction? And he described it, and he gave the differences. And then when it meets a criminal level, and they talked about the consequences for that. But what we're talking about are not cases that can be solved in state court or in federal court. These are military, tribunal, sedition, traitor, treason. It's all in there.
Yeah.
That's why today I put out Samuel on Twitter. I put out Samuel Adams. It could have been late last night. The days are all running together. I just got back and I haven't even unpacked the car yet. A little bit of the inside, but the trunk needs attention. But anyway, it's just what happens. You run out of time because I drive everywhere. But what's happened is people don't understand that when you're doing a case, absolutely everything has to be exact.
Mm-hmm.
All they have to do is find one string to pull, and that case is over. So let's say that you want to be mad at Pam Bondi. Let's say that the FBI has been corrupt in what they submit, because they're the ones who do the investigation. So all you've got in your file, if they gave you a file, because remember they pour stuff up, they burn stuff, they do whatever. And I don't mean burner bags. It's a different thing. So what I think is going on is that they've got to go through every one of these cases, because those guys would sabotage us in less than a New York second.
Yeah.
And so you don't want anything in any of these files that they can pull the string and your case is over. We don't want any mistrials. We don't want anything, but the majority of these cases, and that's why Sussman, Kleinsmith, those pleadings were education process. What's happening with Comey is revealing everything. If they would get him on these things, he would just go sit in jail a certain number of days. That's not where these guys are going. This is military. And when they said military is the only way, military jurisdiction, military trials, military JAG officers who handle these cases, it's a whole different thing when you have committed sedition. Look up the difference. There's difference even in the terminology and the definition between sedition and treason, but both of them are against our country. Traitor is against our country. There are consequences for each of those. And our president added firing squad purposely on December 7 of 2020. Purposely on December 7, because December 7, Pearl Harbor was a setup against us. It got guys to go into World War II because after World War I, they knew the truth and nobody was going. And then they got guys to go fight for that good cause because they just blew up who are these Japanese people? And it was so sad when I went with Sony, and I put some of this in points 1 and 2, because that's when I got to the point of talking about the wars and how we didn't win World War II. But Dad said, I don't want you going to Japan for Sony. I said, why, Dad? And he said, because they want to kill Americans. Now that's 30 years after the war.
Wow.
Okay. And then I get to China, and the people in the bank are 18 and like 23 that I'm talking to before I get in with the president in the conference room and have our meetings. So I'm in the Pudong. The minute I walk in the door, the 18-year-old says, did you know that Japan invaded us? I said, no. I said, I just flew in from Malaysia. I said, I was teaching a course. I mean, I was just dumbfounded. What do you mean that they invaded? And she said, well, she said that control over China caused all the people that you're meeting now are new since then, because everybody flung to the West. Everybody left. So see, their history understanding is from that. So then I meet the like 23-year-old. She's working on a special type of a degree for the banking process. And so I'm talking to her, and I said about this invasion of Japan. She said, oh, horrific. It was just horrific. And I'm like, you're saying it happened in the Shanghai harbor, and from the Pudong, you can, from their offices, because we were up at the top of the Pudong, you can see the boats are constant in the harbor. And I'm like, so where are the Japanese people? I mean, where's, I mean, I couldn't figure out what was going on. But that was her thing too. It was so horrific. It was so horrific. We will never forget what they tried to do to us. And then by then I'm being introduced at the conference table, and there was no time to bring it up, no time to do anything. That night when I got back to the hotel, it happened in 1937, 1938.
Hmm.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what happens, and what we listen to and what we believe. That sets a path for your future. They're angry against Japan. They've got America angry against Japan. And it was America that funded China and Russia against Japan and made Japan angry at America. The death to America, hate America is coming because we're the world order out of Charleston, South Carolina. It's 1871, and we're funding all of this. And it's not just because we're America. We're funding all this because we're the world order. Everything has been structured out of America since 1871. They
Wow.
came and did it on purpose. That's why our taxes keep being so high, and everything keeps being taxed, and now all the additional things are being taxed. And now I mean, I just went across country again, and guys, it's $4 or $5 by the time you get to the California coast, and by the time you get back to the East Coast, you're back to $2 and $3.
Yep.
What? But you can see it keep growing as you cross the country. So it's not like it's only California. I mean, Arizona, Nevada is kind of in that category too. It's not just California. But all of the things they're doing to us, and I cannot emphasize it enough, all the things they're doing to us is why the Pilgrims left Europe. None of this is new. This is how they take over nations. Look at Venezuela. Everybody's excited about Maduro. Do you know that Venezuela was the wealthiest country in 2000? Everybody
Yeah.
was talking about it, how profound they are as a country. And now they got nothing. And it happens. And that's why when people just want America cleaned up, you don't understand. We have never been free. We have never had liberty. And that's why I put out that Samuel Adams quote for the Revolutionary War, not the Civil War. He said, if you want to lick the hand of the people that are feeding you and stay under servitude to them the rest of your life, depart from us. And in posterity will forget you even existed, because you are not recognized as one of our countrymen. And then the Civil War, it was Ulysses S. Grant who became the next president. He was a powerful soldier in the war. Then they made him president, and then he got controlled, and then he started signing all these laws against all of this. But when he was in the war, he said, we have become two parties in this nation of traitors and patriots. So, and it's all the same.
So knowing that, and then he gets into office, how did he let himself get compromised? How did they do that?
Oh, I got a funny answer for you. It was 2018, and I was in my hometown, and I was in the library getting an interview, and I said, if we could just understand this Men in Black movie, You think that you know what's going on, but these men in black is kind of tongue in cheek as to what's really going on. And men in black, they come in with the suitcases in the black suits, and everything changes. And by the time they leave, you don't even know what you did. You don't even know what's gone on because you just zoom you and you're zapped out and that's it. And they go on and you just put everything in motion because Ulysses S. Grant, after the Pilgrims hoped for 500 years they would never do Gentile worship in America. And the Native Americans were right there with them. And they were just fellowshipped in truth. Because all of these religions are just knockoffs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish religion. It doesn't matter if you're Lutheran or you're Methodist or you're Jewish or you're Muslim or it doesn't matter. Jehovah's Witness. Everybody only has a piece of the truth, and a piece of the truth is never enough.
Wow.
You've got to either have the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, or your days are numbered. And it isn't the same number in the book of the Father. So where we're at is that they've taken us that far that we don't even understand, that we're so compromised with that, with the other kingdom. Father can say, I never knew you, never had a conversation with you. You might have done some nice things, but it wasn't in my name. You've never operated in my name. I mean, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that message. But all of this has been a knockoff of that. Every one of these celebrations, and that's what Ulysses S. Grant did. They forced him to sign in. Well, of course, Congress passes all this stuff, and then the president signs it. He signed Christmas as a law in America.
Really?
In 1870. He signed for Easter, which is Ishtar Isis, who was deified, who is the mother who had the baby with Nimrod, who was deified as Osiris in Egypt, and she was deified as Ishtar, Easter, because Easter in English is just the English translation of Ishtar, and Isis. And all of these names are in the oaths these people take. So they're taking oaths to the religions, they're taking oaths to the leaders. Frederick of Prussia, you go to a meeting one night and you take an oath to Frederick of Prussia, and you don't get a copy of the oath. You don't ever see it again. You don't even know what you just said. And the higher up you go, the more you take the oaths. By the time you get to the top, it's Allah, it's Isis, it's Ahura Mazda on purpose. Because Ahura Mazda is the ancient religion of Iran, which was taken out of Egypt and supposedly expanded. How? What does it even matter? Because it's all other kingdom. And the other kingdom is death. That's why I keep referring to that little 4-minute, 30-second video at the bottom of the interviews page in Hebrew. You've either got truth and life, and that's why Elijah said, choose this day who you serve, or you got death. That's all you've got. You've only got those two choices. There aren't all these other choices about all these other religions and all these other studies and all these other thought patterns. It's all confusing the people. That's why I'm working on the calendar. The calendar was complete confusion. When God had me do it, it's the first time I ever did it, guys, in the personal letter of the new book. I was blown away. The last 4 months are 7, 8, 9, 10. Why? Because they used the Roman calendar. Well, then why didn't they put 11 and 12 on the end? Because they want to keep you in confusion, because who's the author of confusion? And I'm doing all of this. They're all names of gods. I never knew the names of these gods before. I never heard of them before. And then God told me, now let's do the days of the week. And I said, why? And he said, they're all gods and goddesses too. You can't be real. I was going to summarize what he'd shown me over the last 30 years. And it wasn't that at all. The whole personal letter was a whole different ball of wax. Just a whole different ball of wax. I had no idea what he wanted me to reveal. And it's not, a lot of people think Sheila's trying to have all of us go to the Hebrew calendar. That's a lie. They're thinking that I'm trying to choose between the two calendars. That's a lie. Our problem is neither one of them is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. They've both been corrupted. They both have some fraud in it, all in a battle between the two sides of the kingdom. So you got the kingdom of truth and life, and you got the kingdom of death. And those two have been fighting the whole time. So in the Hebrew calendar, everything moves all the time. And so I haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. I know how we can number everything like the devotional, and we did a whole interview on the devotional. I can do that. So we can have, how we do the month. And so we're heading into month 12. And next week starts the first day. But then there's got to be another distinction. Which day of the week? There's only 7. The first day is Sunday. So it goes from the first to the seventh day. So I can do that easy, and the calendars can be done easy because we've never given credit. And this is one thing I learned as a business coach and as an HR director before that. And that is that they messed us up with the calendar. Why are Monday through Friday so huge? And then Saturday, Sunday are just a half a day, well, not even hardly a half a day each. So what happens is all the employees, when I was an HR director, and all of the staff, when I was on my own corporation, everybody just poured themselves out every day, morning to night, crashed at night, went to sleep. And on the weekend, they were so burned out. They tried to rest and they just wanted to do something fun on Sunday. And then boom, they're right back to those long days again. So what it does psychologically, you just burn yourself out all week. You can't get anything done on the weekends. And then they put all the sports stuff from Friday night to Saturday night. They have done everything they have done to us on purpose so that we're not living a regular smooth path in our life. And so it's been a real challenge, and to put all of that in the personal letter. And I almost wanted to tell people, don't start with the personal letter, end with the personal letter, because I'll explain some things in the book and then go back to the personal letter. But I decided don't tell anybody anything. And you guys have been so gracious and so appreciative of realizing we're naming gods and goddesses before us every day of the week, every time we set an appointment, every time we plan with the doctor where we're going to be with them, every time you tell somebody when you're going to meet them for a cup of coffee, every time you say anything about any date on the calendar. And that's why it was done to honor Pope Gregory. That's why it's called the Gregorian calendar. And it didn't come out till 1582. So when people say, I know that Christ was born on this specific date, the Hebrew calendar has never been a specific date on the Gregorian calendar. Never. And he was conceived, it ended up being 70 days from the date he was actually born in reality. And so I'm trying to figure those dates out. So it can be a regular date. But it's still in conversation with the Father, because how do we combine these so that when you're looking at a calendar, everybody goes, well, Sheila, just put the Hebrew calendar on the Gregorian. I said, God hasn't given me that answer yet. Because the only way to get us to where we need to be in the future, we've got to figure out how to unite. And we've got to quit believing all these guys who wouldn't even tell us where they came from, what their background is, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I don't think we got a chance to do the thing on the guy in Iowa who became the superintendent of the biggest school district in the state of Iowa. Did we ever get a chance to cover him? No. Well, it's really interesting, and I can send a picture to insert below. It's on my phone, so I don't think I can put it through from my computer. But there's a guy, and you can look it up. Biggest school district in the state of Iowa. He's earning over $350,000 just in regular salary. That doesn't include all the benefits and everything else. And it's the biggest school district. The man's been illegal in America more than 30 years. The man's not from Iowa. The man's from Maryland. He has two, I believe it was Maryland. I don't think it's Maine. I think it's Maryland. He has 2 driver's licenses, 2 voting records. Social Security number is fake, of course, because he's not legal in America. So when people say the New York mayor, oh my God, what if he's not even legal? And this is what we did talk about in our last interview, I know. The presidents haven't been legal to be on the ballot to be president. So what I'm excited about, and I think you were heading in this direction a few moments ago, Mike, is that what I'm excited about is when you're not who you say you are, when you have lied, when you have not taken your oath, when you have done all of these things while you're in America and you sat in a position, and this is true, now you notice all the congressional people in the Senate, Congress, full Congress, House and Senate. Oh yeah, let's cover this guy because I found out his background information. They were just saying that he didn't have a legal Social Security number. He didn't have it. Now, how did he get through interviews? Do you see what I mean? Yeah. Positioning of people by the secret societies is what's going on all across this country.
Okay.
So he didn't have a bio, didn't have his college education was a fake piece of information. There's nothing about him that's real. And his ID documents are out of this other state, and he has voted on those fake documents, false documents. So they have records on him that he's committed all of these crimes. And to begin with, he's been here illegally for 30 years. But he's lived off of America, gotten in these positions. But again, there's so many Americans that need work. How does someone get this job by not having the right credentials to even qualify to apply for the job, without having any legitimate documentation to even be in America and work in America? And you can't, none of us can go to another country and get away with any of this.
No,
And
not any of it. None of it.
And so we'll see what they do. But there he is in Iowa, running the biggest school district in the state of Iowa. So what do you think the school
30,000 students.
Curriculum is? The what?
Says he had 30,000 schools under him, or students under him. Yeah.
Yeah. And he doesn't have anything he needs to have that job. Doesn't have anything. Doesn't have a bio for it. Doesn't have a background for it. Doesn't have an education for it. Doesn't have legal documents to be in America still. That's what the problem is. They haven't, by being here, they aren't even trying to become Americans. They aren't interested in being Americans. They're just interested in having the advantages of people thinking they're an American, and to have the American dream. This is what is in my Nation Restoration book. I couldn't have the benefits that they were getting then. They were getting.
So what do you think he went through to get in contact with the secret societies? Was he like in Guyana, where he's from? Was he, as a kid, something he did something? So somehow these people are chosen.
They make deals. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Obama is his name. Ever been Obama?
Good point.
His mom was CIA. If she was his mom, we don't even know if they have a DNA match. We don't know anything about these people. And he didn't qualify to run for president. Kamala didn't qualify. Bush 41 didn't qualify. Bush 43 didn't qualify. I mean, we talked about this last time. And that's why we can't just focus on paper ballots, same day voting, smaller precincts, get it handled, vote all calculated before you leave the precinct at the end of the day. We can't just focus on that, because we've got people on the ballot that shouldn't be on the ballot. And it comes out of that structure that Bonaparte came to America and put in place. He's the one that put these special agents in place in the Bureau of Investigation that became the FBI. This was everything. And I think we even did an interview just kind of summarizing a lot of these points. They've all been a setup to our destruction. Everything's been set up. We capitulated, we surrendered World War II because we didn't want nuclear. And then the scientists came from Germany and we cleared Oak Ridge and we built it and we paid for it. And we paid for the land and we paid for the families to be out. We had the flyers and the planes and we paid for all of that. And we're the ones that bombed. Did we do it because we were still upset about Japan and Pearl Harbor? But see, what they do is they create a story and make us upset about it, and then we react out of it. I mean, when my dad said the people in Japan just want to kill Americans, I couldn't relate to it because the World War was, 30 years ago, and I wasn't 30. And so I didn't know what he was talking about. So, but what they do when they set us up, we believe that, and we operate in our life based on what they tell us. And that's why I don't have to confirm with anybody whether or not you're actually in an MK Ultra and it happened when you were somewhere or whatever, because we've all been programmed to accept what they want us to accept. And it's been a whole global thing from the very, very beginning. I mean, the whole thing about Hoover is it's just a joke when you look at it, but the control he had, he destroyed people in a couple of sentences. He had that power. He would create a file on him and do all these things on him. And then we don't know about his life or his lifestyle or how he's living. If any of our corporate people had that lifestyle and it was found out, they wouldn't be able to have those positions because we want truth. We want to know what's going on. And everything he did was behind the scenes. Everything those judges were doing was behind the scenes. They're all connected because it all goes back to as soon as you get in one of those societies, then you got to be in one. Your neighbor has to be in one. If he wants to be an accounting business in town, if he wants to be a pastor in the town, if he wants to be an attorney, the requirement is in these communities when they set up the communities, and you can see the grid pattern all the way across America. When they set up these towns, those people had to belong. And they've destroyed the towns. As I drive back and forth across America, I don't go through Atlanta. I go around Atlanta. So I'm on a lot of the small roads. There aren't many towns that have been thriving. There aren't many towns that have survived. You see so many boarded up buildings. America has a lot of that's the president's calling it infrastructure to do, but they got the money and spent it on other stuff. I think you've covered it well with so many of your interviews of explaining how they've manipulated absolutely everything for us. The insights programs that you do, just powerful, Jaco. And so I can't go into that as deep as you can, but it's been disheartening. And yet when this came up about JFK and people don't think they understood what happened, they couldn't let a truthful president, because see, Eisenhower gave him everything. Eisenhower told him exactly what was going on. And I don't know if I've mentioned, and I think I gave you, Michael, the military government, and it's 50 some pages. And that was just the outline to begin to prepare for when we have to go through what we're going to be going through right now. Is that it tells you this is how the community is going to need help. This is what's going to be needed here. This is how to educate the people on this. And they said again and again in the outline, and I haven't studied it because that is not my direction, but to see it and realize that it's in place and realize that they knew they have to prepare for these days. Because the hope the whole time has been to get to this point ever since the Civil War. Everything that we're just finding out now, they knew at the time of the Civil War. That's why that soldier monument is so telling and so descriptive without having any words, is that they knew you aren't going to have liberty and freedom. We just lost over 700,000 lives, and it hasn't mattered an ounce because all they're going to do is keep killing us. They don't want us to live. They want to be in control and only for them to have the rights to the land in this nation. And so that's what's been going on the whole time. And we're just catching up with it now. But how powerful this is. They tried this 6-7 times after the Civil War, and they didn't have a Trump. And I just, to have President Trump be willing to be the battering ram in the midst of all the attacks against him. And it's just, and what they're doing now to try and, you don't have to follow the orders of the president. You have to follow the commander in chief. You don't have to follow the Constitution, and they've been giving orders in the military. I still have not found, and I don't know if we're ever going to be able to find, if anyone has a copy, please send it in to Jaco. The thing that they had people sign in order to commit to the fact that they would fight in their communities and kill Americans if there was an uprising in America. And that happened about 2014, 2015, 2013, 14, 15, right in there. Because that was all happening under Obama. They were all getting ready for Hillary to come in. That was the final stamp against us heading into 2020, guys. 2020 to them means recycle unto death. I can go back all the way to the 1300s. I can't go back before that. I don't find anything written before that. So, but every 20 year in every century was a pandemic. All of them were a virus. They're still doing viruses. They're creating it in labs. It's a venom, a poison. It's a combo. They blame monkeys. They blame bats. They blame animals. And they're creating all of this in labs and doing it to us on purpose. There is, I got the video. It's a YouTube video. And I don't know if we can play this. I think did I send it to you? The African man who was researched And if I email this to you, um, this is a man in Africa who found out that they knew exactly when they were going to give him the bullet. They were going to do bullets and take out every leader all the way across Africa. And then they knew exactly everything about their children and had it all described as to how they were going to take out their children. And when he saw how they were going to kidnap his daughter, that did it. That did it. So then he stopped. He took his troops in the middle of the night, found out all this additional information, and then shared it. And I had two guys try and pull it off of YouTube, and it was off of Facebook, and it was on YouTube. So if I email that to you right now, can we bring that up? Have you seen this guy? He's an African leader, has a hat, one of those berets on.
Right.
Yeah, he that's I think I have it on email. That's it. Because I was concerned about sharing it by text. So let me this is so profound because what it is he found all this and he found who signed all the documents. And I don't want to spoil it because I want it to surprise you too. So what he did was he went and found everything out. He found every document. He found exactly how they were going to do it. And all of it included the same bioweapons they're using on us. They had created vaccines to destroy people per your DNA. And they knew the DNA, they had captured the DNA of all of the states across Africa. This thing is so profound. Um, and so let me see here. It I don't want to put
So I was looking at Bonaparte,
YouTube.
General Charles Joseph Bonaparte, in your
Yes.
Eternal Plan
Yes.
book. I had that on the screen for a little bit, but
It's at the beginning of the FBI chapter is where he
yeah.
starts. And you know what? I said, God, he was part of the original setup of America where they took us over before self-governing. He goes, but Sheila, it's more important with the FBI chapter because it shows you how the whole thing dovetails with Hoover. So, okay, so I'm forwarding this to you right now.
Okay.
It's just a YouTube link. And it explain I want it to be just straight from his voice and not anything from me because this was so powerful. And I had to do a double check because I wanted to make sure because I thought it was Facebook. And so I sent this Facebook one out and it was the wrong one. So just okay, so it's on its way to you and your producer right now. I'm so grateful we can go this deep. I'm so grateful for you, Mike. This is so powerful. But this was out on YouTube. They haven't taken him down. And it's brand new.
Oh, got it. Okay.
You'll see him in a beret. And he's just sitting at the microphone and he's got all of his information. Just he doesn't even have to look at anything. He
Like a
he
young man
he's
too.
saving his own life. Yep.
Wow. All right. I got it. Let me share a screen. This will be good.
found your death list. 6 presidents marked for the same day: Mali, Niger, Chad, Sahel, Kenya, Ethiopia. 1 bullet each, 1 big coup cooked in your war room. I saw the file on Mali president's daughter.
It's a little bit low.
Ice cream shop, everything ready for kidnapping. Niger president saw his own cousin on your payroll, 50 grand to sell.
It's turned all the way up.
Okay.
But the real devil was in Nairobi, your secret lab. Viruses cooked only for African DNA.
Oh, you know what? Let me get out of this.
Okay.
And then I'll come back in. I have to optimize the sound. So I'm in a different program. So let me bring that back up.
Okay.
This should work now.
I need to take a
If the
tech
bullets
lesson
missed,
from
you
you.
plan to spray genocide from planes. I sent my best commandos at 9 a.m. They kicked the door, found fridges full of your poison, aerosol machines, maps showing which villages die first. I burned it all at 1200 degrees. Nothing left but black smoke. Then I went live on every TV station in the world. 1,000 hours sharp. Giant screens behind me. First screen, photos of my kids sleeping, your sniper notes on the window. Second screen, your 6 kill list with dates and methods. Third screen, your bioweapon inventory, every vial listed. Fourth screen, $47 million of Israeli taxpayer money spent to murder us. Fifth screen, your signature, your handwriting, your orders. Not some rogue clown, you, Benjamin Netanyahu. You wrote accelerate deployment like a bored schoolboy. You called it African Population Reduction Initiative. Population reduction, that's your cute name for genocide? I showed your budget line, 12 million just for that. I showed your note in the margin, window closing faster. You were impatient to kill millions. The room went dead silent. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, all frozen. Even your American friends couldn't speak, because when the proof is this raw, even liars choke. UN Security Council emergency session in 1 hour. ICC open genocide case in 2 hours. Your own allies ghosted you. Israel put out a weak statement. Rogue elements. Rogue, I showed your signature again. Slow zoom, high definition. Rogue doesn't sign the budget, you coward. I showed your email. Continental instability creates opportunities. Proceed with biological option if necessary. Your exact words. The world saw the monster. 26 African nations filed for your arrest the same week. Not.
Can you imagine that? Can you?
Wow.
Isn't that? But you know what? It was identical here. And when he talks about reducing the population, that's the same depopulation in the Order of Malta Satanic 10 Commandments that were on the Georgia Guidestones. And you take it down to a 10% of the world at 500 million. So they get rid of 90% of the people. That's what we're trying to get that across. And here I go out and people are in lines at CVS. People are in lines at all these places to get the newest vaccine, and they've combined COVID vaccine in with the flu shot, and people are getting it. It's just, but the whole idea is depopulation. The whole process is depopulation. But the same thing, the exact things that he was saying about then they hit us with aerosol machines, then they hit us with planes from up above, then they had the vaccines, and they have prepared them against every DNA in Africa. You see what I mean? All of this has been scientifically developed. Now, that money that they said was in Israel, guess where that money came from? The world order out of the United States of America.
Wow.
Everybody kept saying, you know, we're funding all of this, and they have all this amazing stuff going on, but 40 million isn't that big of a deal out of the whole budget that they receive. But we were funding the Middle East until President Trump. We were putting them at wars with each other until President Trump. We were making all of this okay. And that's why Death to America was, because who do you people think you are? American people didn't know it was even going on. And so, you know, but hearing Death to America makes us angry about Iran. And that's why President had to tell us, did you know how many faith-believing people there are who believe in the Lord over in Iran? And it's huge. Russia, when they kept saying, we keep thinking of people in big funky sweaters and standing in line for bread in Russia. That is not true. Rick Renner has an $18 million church in Russia, in Moscow. And the people who have come from Russia at Coach Dave's event in June of 24, they were telling me, no, it was 23. No, it was 24. In June of 24, when I went to that event, they were telling me that at least 80 to 85% in Russia are believers. Everybody has been fighting what we're fighting. They've been fighting it, but we haven't been able to get ahead of it because we're the absolute pivot point of all of it. Everything that's happening in the world against all these other nations is created here. And I'm going to go and try and find that Robert David Steele video and see if we can pull it out. I have a friend who can pull some out from Facebook. And so I'll say, because it's Robert David Steele on the bottom. And then when he tells the whole CIA thing, and it's like, it helps us make sense of what we can't make sense of. Because how could the CIA be doing this and then they're doing this and then they're doing this and then they're doing this? They have completely compartmentalized, and you're using these offices all around the world, just like all these military bases all around the world. They're not ours. U.S. based. I don't know. It's not. In the summary, it all came out of the British Commonwealth structure, but we've been structured out of England. I mean, the whole thing, it's all one big net. And we're in it and don't realize we're in it. We keep thinking America's this great country separate from all of this stuff. It's all connected. We're not an independent nation. We haven't been an independent nation. We're not separate from all of this. And to breathe in the fact that we've been the ones doing it, and not us, you and I sitting here. We're not the ones doing it, but it's America that's doing it to all these nations. And that's why they knew how to do it to us. But did we have any idea? Did we have any idea of all these things that have been going on? Do we have any idea who these people are in Congress? Because now we're finding out that there's people in Congress who aren't here legally. There's people in Congress who aren't a solid American citizen, and they're representing your state. But again, the election process has been a merit-based system set up by Charles Joseph Bonaparte back in the 1800s, brought to America.
So you've been spending some time in Mar-a-Lago. What's the feel? Where are things going?
I think we're at a momentum that we have never been at before. As I've gone each year, people are very excited to hear of the progress and the information, but they haven't really been, I got to do something. I got to get active. I got to make this happen. Now they're figuring out what to do. It's been a learning process, an education process, a deprogramming and restructuring process. The momentum this time was so much stronger than I have seen it the previous years. And I've been there since 22. So 22, it was an event. They had only started in 21. They started on January 7 because of January 6. And it's the cabinet. Most of the people came out of America First Policy Institute to go into the cabinet to become the ambassadors. When I went in 23, I didn't meet as many of the cabinet members or ambassadors because they were still had to be that other kingdom mindset. Last year, I noticed that a lot of them were being very vocal. And the clearest messages were to be an ambassador in America. If you are from the true side in the world, you aren't going to be able to be an ambassador. And they said that their legal bills were 2 to 3 times their salary as an ambassador. And it's a privilege, and they invest in the process to become an ambassador. And then they represent us, and they spend their whole time in court, and they're spending all of their family fortune to be our ambassador, and can't get through the court process and stop the bleeding of the finances, which are so much more than their income. That was a devastating thing to hear again and again and again the last year and a half, because I've gone to the summits too. And now this year, what I was finding this year, because now he's actually back in after we've had the auto pen and after people have realized so much has been going on in our country, that I think the realization of the people has increased. I think that the reason to be concerned about future generations has hit home. I think the absolute responsibility for we the people to be boots on ground doing something, whatever we can do every day, whatever I can do this day, Father, whatever I can do, whatever I can clear up for people, whatever I can do to help people. That is the difference in the momentum I witnessed this last week. And the agenda is tighter and more fluid and more expansive. So, like, we were on a shuttle heading to breakfast at 7 a.m. Over to Mar-a-Lago. Then we were back, and then we were in 2 strategy meetings, and then headed back over for the luncheon, and then come back and 2 more strategy meetings. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that to that extent. And you had to kind of split your time into all these different topics to get caught up to date on everything. But for the very first time this year, the momentum is so strong. The people are so much more active. The people are wanting to get more active. And it wasn't, I noticed at the dinner and lunch and breakfast, at those things, I didn't hear a lot of social conversation. At the business strategy meetings, I did notice a lot of social conversation like there was before, or separating out and 3 or 4 talking about something else. I didn't notice any of that. The focus is so much stronger. The absolute commitment is so much stronger. And I'm just surprised because they're letting me do this. This isn't something, I mean, this is something that these people have done and financially committed to. I just feel so honored that I'm able to be there because I'm just providing input. I'm just providing, what I can. So it's silver and gold have I none, but whatever I have, I give to you freely. There's a scripture about this, so I was aligned. But the thing that's so amazing, I always fund to go to the gala on Friday night, and I always have people. I had about 3 tables 2 years ago, had 2 tables last year, and with the economy where it is now, I have part of a table this year. There's a lot of changes. There's a lot of big IRS bills coming out to businesses, and a lot of my contacts are all corporate owners or doctors or attorneys that have been doing funding of everything that's going on in this America First Policy Institute, because about 85 to 90% of all the executive orders you're hearing about, they're all written by this group. A lot of the laws,
wow,
because the lobbyists were writing them, remember, for the puppet masters, and then just handing it to Congress, and they were passing it. And that's why they said, I'll read it when we pass it. It's like, don't you even, because they never even knew what it was. They're passing so many laws in California. They're passing so many laws every month. How can we even keep up? And what I'm noticing is that what we're doing is we're trying to set up, and if anybody wants to know what they can do in their state, we're trying to make sure that all 50 states have an America First Policy Institute so that the people in every one of the states is providing information. Because what we want to do is not duplicate the laws in all the states. What we're really finding is every state is so completely different. The controls on the states are different. The types of laws they're passing in the states are different. And so you think you get a job and you go move from Mississippi to Texas, and you're in a whole different environment with all different laws, and people don't even realize it. And that's how they're able to keep doing what they're doing to us. So what we're trying to do, and I'm not a key person. I'm not on the team. I'm not on the staff, but the whole focus of this is let's get the policies that the people need in the states. It's just like the one gal that brought in the 20 new laws for schools, because the Department of Education is going to be gone. Linda McMahon is known from the beginning. She's working her way out of a job. Is that it was never should have been like that. There's never should have been compulsory education since 1850. That's why Republican Party started. We don't need the parties. What we need is grassroots people figuring out what needs to happen. And then we talk to these different state connectors. And that's what was so amazing for me. The New Jersey guy remembered 3 things I said back at the May summit in DC. And it's just, we're starting to work with each other and hearing what's working in the States and not working in the States. It's such a powerful gathering to be part of that I'm grateful and honored that they include me. I didn't think I was going to be included this year with just a little partial part of a table coming, but they included me again, and it's to see the changes, to see people getting that this government became this thing that like had a metallic kind of shield between the people and whatever was going on. We have not known what's going on. I mean, I'm just finding out crazy things. You and Tracy have probably known this a long time. Did you know why they got rid of all the lead paint? Is so they can come in and do reads and use their equipment and find out everything going on in your house. You don't have to go get a security system that tells them what's going on in your house, or an Alexa or a
paint
Siri.
wouldn't let them penetrate, but now they can see everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and they wondered if I'd had any lead paint removed from my house. And the things that have happened in medical, in our culture, in our families, all of it's being addressed. But it doesn't help us to have these hundreds and hundreds, and now that's what it is. You're seeing him signing executive orders all the time. He's signing things to correct things. So we need we the people to just look at your state and see if these executive orders are covered in the laws in your state, or how can we help your state? And that's why they've set up, I know they have 10 that are fully functioning right now, and California is one of them. And Georgia is one of them. I've been at both of those and helped with that. And I met the coordinator because it had a different coordinator when we started it. I met the new coordinator at this particular meeting. He's new, phenomenal, was in the Congress out in the state. Well, they call it the State Assembly in California. So he was in that and then ran for Congress and was in Congress, U.S. Congress. And now he's the state chair of the AFPI office in California. Doug Collins was in Georgia. I don't know who the new person is, but he's now moved on and doing a job with the president for the veterans. Wow. So a director of something, and that's awesome because he has military background. And so anyway, so it's somebody else in Georgia, and I haven't met that person yet. But if we can get the states all coordinated to then feed into what executive orders do you need? Because this cleanup is we the people in order to form a more perfect.
I'm glad you're saying that, because I just had a guest on. He was talking about how 80% of those executive orders have not been implemented yet. So it sounds like we the people have to get busy, get it down to the state level and in the communities.
Well, and it was so funny back when I spoke 3 days, I was in Texas 3 days before the Guidestones went down back in July of 22. And when I was there, I was telling all the parents, I said, you guys are still sending your kids to public school or paying to put them in private school. And did you know that you've got school choice? The president gave it to you months ago. And so then when I try to take a break and grab something to eat, because it never happens, any events I'm at, you never see me eating because I never get a chance. And I tried to stop and have something, and all these parents came over and said, so where do I get the form? What website do I? Everybody wants to go to a website, go to the government, find out how they do these things. And it's a choice of the parents. I want to homeschool because that's what the Pilgrims did. They understood that they know the truth and they're going to pass it on. And that's what the Faith Monument is about. Those 4 pillars, and we would live in liberty and freedom if we just live that simply on those 4 pillars and raising a child on those 4 pillars. They would never depart from that truth. And that's a scripture too. Again, I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm not trying to quote scripture specifically, but it is true that if you raise up a child the way they should go, they will not depart it when they are old.
Right.
And
that's one of the reasons why they have CPS to try and sabotage us away from our children, as I was just learning from a gentleman. So he was saying that you're talking about school choice. In some states, if you choose school choice and non-vaccination, they'll see you as a parent that is not beneficial for your child. So they'll come in and take your child away from you. So yeah, there's lots of challenges out there.
CPS is still grabbing them. Now,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
haven't gone through those other points in the 45 points, but all of this was a setup. All of this was a setup. You
Wow.
give social agencies the ability to arrest. Who thought of that one?
Really?
You see where we're at?
The
Because
Clintons
CPS
actually.
can go in and take your kids out of school, and they usually do it on a Friday afternoon. So you can't even get in court till a Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday.
Right.
And by then, everything can change with those children. Do you see what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've
They're
been working
brainwashing
with,
them right from the get-go. I've had so many people on my show that have talked about that, and you're right. They do it on a weekend, so they put them in isolation. The children are in isolation, and they're almost tortured to a certain extent. It's crazy.
well, because then what do? You become a victim to your handler. That's the whole process of
Yeah.
mind control.
Yep.
Because then the kid wants to make you happy in order to not be put back there. And then they'll do what you want them to do. And then they'll make them speak against the parents. You see, and the kids are too young. They don't know. But guard the hearts and minds of your children until they're like at least 8 or 9 or 10, because daycares, kindergartens, playgrounds, boys and girls club, these are all on the Knights of Pythias land that was granted for free, supposedly by Abraham Lincoln for their castles. They've got daycare centers. They've got kindergarten and first grade. They've got it all set up. They've got a Boys and Girls Club right next to the National Guard Armory and the armory of all the military, from Army to Marines to Coast Guard to everybody. That's right by the castle. Then the National Guard has their armory, and then Boys and Girls Clubs right next door. Then there's a ball field. Then there's a playground, and off the playground is a daycare center. And then there's the big white house that's boarded up that in the back says, "Enter here."
Wow.
I mean, this is where we are. This is where we are. There's just so much. There's so much, and I don't know when you're so busy. I don't know when you're going to have time to go through those other points, but everything leads to the full and complete control of your family, so that your children will depart from you. They won't depart from the world. They'll depart from you, because the world is giving them all of these opportunities, and they're not opportunities for future. There's a lot of people saying, I wish I hadn't signed with the other kingdom. And I put that Illuminati oath in the research section of this book also, the reference research section in the back, because, and you're not seeing it in color, but it doesn't matter because it's gray and white, and there's only a few things in red. And then you sign in red, but it's blood. And your soul is only for enlightenment. So it's not about your future. It's not about you being eternal. It's not about all the blessings and giftings for you. But once they sign, they feel they're stuck forever. But repentance brings you right back out of it. Father is a giving, forgiving and a giving Father, and doesn't want you to be down that path. And so, but in your families, that simple prayer, I thank you, Father, for doing whatever it takes to bring back into the center of the family, because that's why they put the kids on drugs. That's why, I mean, all this stuff, it's all in the 45 points. We're just finding out the layers, but the layers were so specific and they're so subtle. And it's all about having other idols. I mean, how many parents, just want their kids to go to certain music concerts and have idols in sports and have idols in all these different things. I mean, we've just taken a whole different path, and then we don't know how we got here. But we want Trump to fix it. So would he please fix it soon? So we are where we are. But I am just so honored, Jaco, that you're willing to go into the depths of this, because this guy took it upon himself in one night and stopped. They have, when you get a chance and to go back and hear it, there was one bullet for each of these leaders, and it was all scheduled to all happen at the same time. That's how organized they were, so that nobody would be in touch with anybody else, because they were all killed at the same time. And that one bullet would take them out. And that they studied their families so much that they knew exactly how to kidnap them, how to charm them, how to groom them, how to prepare to kidnap them. And so there would be no questions. And then you can't go home because your dad's dead. And you see what I mean? So that they've taken over are the guys that are doing this at the top did this in every nation. They've taken over rulership of absolutely every nation. None of this that I'm describing to you tonight or any time that we've done these interviews, none of this is new in America now. None of this is what are they going to do next or what move are they going to make? Their playbook can't change. They have human wisdom, period. It ends with human wisdom. So our chances are really good for coming through this because
I think so.
yeah. The storm is upon all of us, but there's some of us that are going to make it through. So, and as many as we can bring through is that's the goal.
Absolutely. Well, all right, Sheila. It's great. So how can people reach you? Hisbest.com?
Hisbest.org.
.org.
Uh-huh. And the books are on there, but they're on Amazon. They're on Barnes & Noble. You can get them at bookstores. And but write in and let us know. If you do the ministry request, you can put a sentence in, but we always respond. If you sign up for the newsletter, we'll get a newsletter out. I was going to get one out this week, but I just got back. They extended this year and did things on Saturday and Sunday. And so usually we end after the gala on Friday night and everybody departs on Saturday. Well, that's not what happened this time. And so I was a little late getting back, but I will get a newsletter out soon and let you know what's going on. And I'm just so grateful, Jaco, to get all this information out. And again, there's only so much we can do in each interview that, there's a lot more. There's a lot more. We're touching on it. And we'll explain it. Let us know. And because I just love doing these with you because you understand the depth of this and the critical status for the family.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, thanks so much, Sheila. I look forward to
and bless you.
Bless you too.
And bless your producer. I don't know where she is on this day, but bless your producer too. And
so it's a hair day. She's getting her hair done. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. We'll be blessed and just know how grateful I am that we're able to do this and share this information.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
All right. Lovely. Okay. Lovely. Thank you.
And she warned me, don't stay on afterwards. Call him. I said, I don't have a number. Well, call me. And see, she's not here. So there you go. So she said, just call.
All right. Well, lots of love to you. And thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah. Oh, bless you, Jaco. And enjoy your panel tonight. She said you got a panel tonight.
Yeah.
Is this the one with Bossy?
Yeah.
Bossy? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I pushed him back to January because I didn't know what was happening when they extended me. And so I pushed him back to January. He's got one in December too. Derek Johnson only has one Tuesday a month that he can do it. So
yeah. Good.
So well, enjoy. I'll be looking for that one.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Bless you.
Bless you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.